Basically, the United States is accusing Russia of planning a chemical attack. This is all over the press. I want to show you a clip from Biden. Let's take a look.
We've seen it before. He's run a lot of false flag operations. Whenever he starts talking about something he thinks NATO, Ukraine, or the United States is about to do, it means he's getting not a joke. He's asserting that we, America, have biological as well as chemical weapons in Europe. Simply not true. I guarantee you. They're also suggesting that Ukraine has biological and chemical weapons in Ukraine. That's a clear sign he's considering using both of those. He's already used chemical weapons in the past, and we should be careful what's about to come.
Again, I find this really funny because he's basically saying that the Russians are planning a false flag when, I mean, honestly, the United States is the king of false flags. We all know that. They were even ready to, Operation Northwoods, they were even ready to pretend to shoot down a civilian airliner just to start a war with Cuba. In any case, here's an article from the New York Times. They say the U.S. makes contingency plans in case Russia uses its most powerful weapons. So they say the White House has quietly assembled a team of national security officials to sketch out scenarios of how the U.S. and its allies should respond if President Vladimir Putin of Russia, frustrated by his lack of progress in Ukraine or determined to warn Western nations against intervening in the war, unleashes his stockpiles of chemical, biological, or nuclear weapons. The Tiger Team, as the group is known, is also examining responses if Mr. Putin reaches into NATO territory to attack convoys bringing weapons and aid to Ukraine, according to several officials involved in the process. Meeting three times a week in classified sessions, the team is also looking at responses if Russia seeks to extend the war to neighboring nations, including Moldova and Georgia, and how to prepare European countries for the refugees flowing in on a scale not seen in decades. Those contingencies are expected to be central to an extraordinary session here in Brussels, when President Biden meets with the leaders of 29 other NATO nations who will be meeting for the first time behind closed doors, their cell phones and aides banished since Mr. Putin invaded Ukraine. Just a month ago, such scenarios seemed more theoretical, but today, from the White House to NATO's headquarters in Brussels, a recognition has set in that Russia may turn to the most powerful weapons in its arsenal to bail itself out of a military stalemate. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg underscored the urgency of the preparation effort on Wednesday, telling reporters for the first time that even if the Russians employ weapons of mass destruction only inside Ukraine, they may have dire consequences for people in NATO nations. He appeared to be discussing the fear that chemical or radioactive clouds could drift over the border. One issue under examination is whether such collateral damage would be considered an attack on NATO under its charter, which might require a joint military response. Now, this is very interesting because they always say, well, look, Ukraine's not part of NATO. This is a Kremlin talking point, and, Ukraine was never going to join NATO. That's a flat-out lie. Bucharest 2008, NATO was very clear. They want Georgia and Ukraine to join. And do you see how they're essentially saying that they're going to treat Ukraine as if it's in NATO? Because usually the idea is that if someone in NATO is attacked, everyone else has to join them and join in and defend them. And here they're saying that they are contemplating joining in to defend Ukraine, even if there's an attack inside Ukraine, which is not in NATO. So you're de facto treating it like a NATO country and then acting like there's, Vladimir Putin is just making up this, again, it's not Putin, it's Russia, acting like Russia is making up the threat of NATO expansion. Come on. So today, a reporter asked Biden at this NATO summit about a U.S. response to a potential chemical attack. Let's take a look.
So you've warned about the real threat of chemical weapons being used. Have you gathered specific intelligence that suggests that President Putin is deploying these weapons, moving them into position, or considering their use? And would the U.S. or NATO respond with military action if he did use chemical weapons?
You know, on the first question, I can't answer that. I'm not going to give you intelligence data, number one. Number two, we would respond. We would respond if he uses it. The nature of the response would depend on the nature of the use.
So you've warned about the real threat of chemical weapons being used.
You know, what I find incredible is that you have so many reporters who all they ask is like, are you going to attack Russia? Why won't you do a no-fly zone? Huh? Why won't you just, you know, do us a little nuclear attack? You know, just half a world war, please? Why won't you do it? They basically just want to extract aggressive statements from, you know, Biden or whoever else. I don't understand how that's supposed to help calm anything. It's incredible. You know, they're such war hawks. It's incredible. And so I want to show you a tweet over here from Scott Ritter. Again, former UN weapons inspector, Marine Corps intelligence, interviewed him many times on the channel. He's great. So he says here, so Biden has assembled a tiger team to think through responses to a Russian chemical attack in Ukraine that exists only in the minds of politicized intelligence analysts here in America. And people wonder why we're losing the strategic battle. Again, I would really like to know what is the military and strategic value of Russia using chemical weapons. Please explain this to me, because I didn't see it in Syria. I explained to you Operation Damascus Steel. I walked you through it, how they were winning, and then all of a sudden there's a chemical attack. That makes no sense. Any person who does that is a complete idiot. So again, what you have here is NATO drawing a red line, you know, just like Obama did with Syria. So the West makes up this red line, this imaginary red line. They cross it with a false flag. They make it look like you crossed this red line through a false flag operation so they can justify attacking you, which is exactly what they did in Syria. Exactly, right? They made up this red line like, oh, if you use chemical weapons, like as if chemical weapons, you know, are somehow worse than conventional weapons. The United States kills people with kills people with depleted uranium and white phosphorus. So you either get killed by the rounds or you get cancer later on. They've used nukes. They starve people to death with sanctions. All of this is lethal. In any case, they make up these red lines, and then they fake this chemical gas attack in Duma, and then they use that as an excuse to bomb Syria. If I didn't know any better, I would think that that's what they're setting up Russia for now. And the fact that they're saying they might jump in to attack Russia, even if something happens in Ukraine, which again is not a NATO member, that shows that they're treating Ukraine like a NATO member. And I don't like the sound of this. I don't think Putin is so stupid to use chemical weapons when they're saying he's going to use chemical weapons. Why would he do that? Again, I want to know the strategic and military value of that. Like, seriously, it's a really serious question. Why would you do that? What does that accomplish exactly? I'm still trying to understand that. And I want to show you something else over here. I mean, this is really something. Really, wow. Here's another question from someone at this NATO summit, and I mean, this is jaw-dropping. Honestly, jaw-dropping. Are you guys ready? Take a look.
Cecilia, ABC. There you are. Oh,
So we'll see that way. Thank you. Sir, you've made it very clear in this conflict that you do not want to see World War III. But is it possible that in expressing that so early that you were too quick to rule out direct military intervention in this war? Could Putin have been emboldened knowing that you are not going to get involved directly in this conflict?
no and no.
You do not believe that?
Oh my Like, did you hear what she said? It's like, why can't we have a world war? Come on. Why did you say no? Aw. I can't believe these people.
Oh, absolutely, that way. Thank you. Sir, you've made it very clear in this conflict that you do not want to see World War III. But is it possible that in expressing that so early that you were too quick to rule out direct military intervention in this war? Could Putin have been emboldened?
My goodness. The mental gymnastics that these people do is staggering. Like, they almost make Biden look you know, like a peacemaker. And that guy helped start the war in Iraq. Every single time, every single day, you see these mainstream media journalists asking questions like this. They all they want to do is extract some sort of commitment to start a world war. It's unbelievable. It's staggering, you know. Oh, why don't you do a no-fly zone? Why won't you commit troops directly? You know, why won't you send some Polish jets? Why won't you let them use NATO airfields? Are you sure you don't want a little world war? Come on, just a little one. Just a quick one. It'll be over quickly. Just a quick one. Come on. Putin bad. Russian man bad. Russia. Oh, wow. Like, these are the reporters. These are supposed to be the responsible members of the press that are holding power to account. They sound more like people who just want, you know, the world to be blown up. I mean, I'm astonished. I'm astonished. My goodness. Let me show you something else. This is a quick compilation that was put together by The Intercept just to really drive home the point how much these reporters, these journalists want war. It's frightening, honestly.
I know you just heard the president give remarks on this, but for clarity's sake and to make sure everybody fully understands the totality of assistance, what the president announced today was an additional $800 million in security assistance to Ukraine, bringing the total U.S. security assistance committed to Ukraine to $1 billion in just the past week. It also includes U.S.-produced short-range air defense systems the Ukrainians have been using to great effect, systems they are trained on. We've also identified and are helping the Ukrainians acquire additional longer-range systems.
Even with this additional aid that you're providing today, it seems there are still other options on the table. So why hold back? Why not use every tool at your disposal now to spare additional lives? What are you waiting for?
President Zelensky in his remarks to Congress today again.
Come on, what are you waiting for? Just a few nukes to spare some lives. Man, if you were interested in sparing lives, you would not send any weapons and you would look for a diplomatic solution, not ask for World War III. These people are so dumb. I'm really struggling to understand. Are they just that dumb, or they're so bloodthirsty for war? God, it's sickening, you know, and they have the nerve then to talk about state media. This is, they make the White House and the Pentagon look sensible. Seriously, because like you have Biden and you know, U.S. officials saying, no, we're not gonna start World War III just because you asked us to. I can't believe this is where we're at. I can't believe this. It's really this bad. Like, it just goes on and on. There's so many of them doing this.
To Congress today again made his request for a no-fly zone. He no doubt is aware of President Biden's position on that. Is there any scenario in which President Biden would change his mind?
Jen, look, Z, he keeps asking for this no-fly zone. Is there any chance we could have a little world war, please? Any chance? You have to let us know. We really like a good war. We really enjoy a good war.
And as we've said before, a no-fly zone would require implementation. It would require us potentially shooting down Russian planes, NATO shooting down Russian planes, and we are not interested in getting into World War III.
She's like a kindergarten school teacher having to explain to them what the fuck they're asking. We are not interested in World War III. My goodness. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, they make the White House look sensible. That's how bloodthirsty they are. What is going on? What? Oh, my goodness. My goodness.
I know a lot of people have asked about the MiGs, but can you lay out for us why the administration sees MiGs as provocative and javelins and stingers as not provocative?
I want to go back to the MiGs quickly and just be crystal clear about what you're saying, because when I asked the president about this earlier, he said he's not going to comment. He didn't say that it's not an option. So,
Well, we've spoken to it for approximately 167 times. So maybe yeah.
Well, here's 168.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Jen. You put out a list of all of the military equipment included in that $400 million, $800 million that's being provided to Ukraine. Among those items, let me read them to you: 100 grenade launchers, 5,000 rifles, 1,000 pistols, 400 machine guns, and 400 shotguns. Are you saying those items are not offensive weapons?
They're weapons that help the Ukrainian people fight against an invasion by a foreign country.
They can be used offensively, can they not?
Again, they're weapons. What I'm talking about is weapons that can be used to fight.
The answer is yes. I mean, although you don't want to say it, that answer to that question is yes. And so, obviously, you're trying to make this distinction between offensive.
Well, what we're talking about. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Well,
Let me finish my answer.
No, you aren't. No, I was finishing a point, and then you can respond to my.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, you're making this distinction between offensive and defensive weapons. Anybody that looks at that list of weapons that I just mentioned, they would say clearly they're offensive. If a Ukrainian military officer or someone who is enlisted has one of these weapons, they can take out a Russian military official of some sort with these weapons. They're offensive in nature. So why not provide more offensive weapons like this to the Ukrainian military?
There is a difference between a plane and planes and massive military systems. I think anybody would recognize this. And what we're talking about, which is giving rifles and pistols to many of them farmers and people living in countrysides to defend themselves. I think there's a difference that most people recognize. Thank you everyone so much. Have a nice day.
It's so painful. Oh, it's so painful. How the fuck are you reporting on war and you can't tell the difference between planes and some pistols? You twat. You clown. You absolute clown. And he's like, yeah, but you could kill some like Russian military official of some sort. You mean a soldier? Do you even know what you're talking about? Oh, you dunce, you absolute dunce. I think that guy deserves a nice little cone on his head. Oh, it's painful. I cannot believe for once I'm actually agreeing with the White House spokesperson. Like that. This is the situation that they back us into. They've gone so batshit that the voice of reason is coming from the White House. Oh goodness. You done did it now, didn't you? Oh, that was painful. They really sound like a bunch of school children, and it is shocking because they're working for major outlets, which I think speaks to the quality of journalism that we get. Wow, that was pathetic. Really, she had to speak to them like school children, like a kindergarten class. Surely they know better, don't they? Surely they know better. I don't know what this is. It's like some death cult. Again, remember the t-shirt I made, Uncle Joe's Rainbow Coalition Death Cult. There you go. It's a death cult. Oh my goodness. If you can't see the difference between a pistol and a plane, I guarantee you the Russians will. And they have more nukes than you. Not gonna end well. Not gonna end well.